Hey guys, welcome back. Hybrid 32494 here. Today we're going to be taking a look at one of the cheapest RC cars on the market that you can possibly buy. This is the Toys S912. This is basically, the brand itself is GP Toys, and it's very similar to the WL Toys lineup of RC cars. Alright, so the first thing you notice is obviously the design. The design is almost identical to the Traxxas Mini E Revo, which I also do have, and I'll show you guys later on that it's almost identical in length and the body almost identical. So in terms of price, I paid $44 for this. That was including free shipping straight from eBay. You also have the S911, which is a slightly different version. It's a different body style and it has larger wheels. This is the newer version, 912, which is, as you could tell, made to look like a Traxxas Mini E Revo. So what do we have here? This is rear-wheel drive only. So you have rear metal dog bones right here, and you have metal outdrive cups. The wheels themselves are about the same as the Mini E Revo wheels, except you do not have any foam inside. As you could tell, I'm having no problem squeezing them. There's absolutely no foam. You do have a full set of ball bearings all around. As you could tell, if I spin the front wheel, it has absolutely no resistance and can keep on going for a long amount of time. This one is almost the same. The shocks, they do look like oil-filled shocks, but they are not. They are friction type only. So if we go down like this, rebounds almost right away. You could tell that you have different shock rates at the front and the rear, but it is limited to down travel, so it will never really bottom out. In that regard, I'm very surprised for such a low-end RC. You don't have to really worry about tearing up anything in the front. So this is the radio that was included. This is a full 2.4 gigahertz unit. The only trimmer you have here is a basic left to right adjustment, which is right here in the back. You can remove this steering wheel and make it a left-handed usable remote, which is pretty nice. Another decent feature I've noticed is when you remove this little screw right here, this is the battery compartment, it's powered by only 2 AA's. I've actually never seen a remote be powered by 2 AA's, but the range on this thing is not bad. I've basically been at least 100 feet away from distance from me, and no issue with control whatsoever. Okay, so let's take a closer look and see what's under here. I'm going to take off these body pins. I did a little mod so far, put these little zip ties here because the body pins are just so small, I don't want to lose them. So we're just going to do this. I'm going to take off the body. And by the way, there's a sticker on top right now. I did not remove the upper plastic film on here yet. So that might be why you guys can see a little bit of a kind of an uneven, smooth paint surface. But keep in mind the plastic covering is still on top. The body is pretty well painted. I wouldn't say it's too flexible or too rigid. Seems to be almost on par with the Traxxas Lexan type bodies. Okay, so this is the chassis. It's a pretty straightforward design, as you could tell right here. I'm going to take a closer look. So it's a self-contained unit. You have, once again, it's a rear drive only. And you do have a full metal drive system here. Okay, so for now, let's just take off one of these front wheels and see what we have there. This is the included wrench. It's plastic. No issues, has no problem fitting. The nuts are on pretty tight, so nothing to worry about instead of, in terms of it falling off while you're driving. So normal looking metal nut. And you have a standard size hub inside. I think this is a 10mm hub, if I'm not mistaken, maybe a 12. The same as most of the Traxxas 10 scale RCs. So the wheels right here, they're not glued. As you could tell, I'm lifting it off the rim, no problem. But the bead is fairly well seated. There we go. All right, normal wheel, not too heavy, pretty good grip. The rubber is fairly soft. So this is what the front suspension looks like. You have a very similar system with the pivot balls top and bottom as almost all of the Traxxas RC cars. But like I said, these shocks are not oil filled, even though these look like shock caps on top. I actually did try removing them and there's nothing inside. But I'm fairly confident I could probably find a set to replace these with, so I'm not too worried about that. What do we have here? This is the actual battery compartment. Now, one of the biggest problems I've noticed so far is the way to turn this thing on. So the on switch is actually inside the battery compartment. You have to remove these four little, fairly convenient, I guess you could say, clasps. So we'll take this off. So this is where the battery resides. And the on-off switch is inside. So it's a tiny little switch. You have this little micro antenna sticking out. It's a 2.4 gigahertz unit, so you have no issues with communications. But every time you want to, turn it on and off, you have to be doing this all the time. With these four, take this off, turn it on, put the body on. It's a whole scenario. I really hate taking off the body because you really risk losing the body clips that way. The battery itself, I'll take it out. This is the battery. It's a, let me read it off, 800 milliamp hour, 9.6 volt lithium ion pack. So it's included. You don't have to pay for anything else in here. The actual motor is a fairly large motor. This is a 390 size. So it's not a 380, which is what's bundled with the Traxxas Mini E-Revo and almost all RCs that are under 10th scale. So this particular one, they say it's a 12th scale, but the motor is fairly large. It's a brushed can, and I'm going to just basically hold my hand over it. It's basically that long. It's along the whole chassis of the RC itself. So the rear suspension is the same as the front. You have the same type of pivot ball suspension and the metal dog bones. So according to the box, it does have an adjustable slipper clutch. I haven't really messed with that yet. But in terms of the drive, I drove it before, and I'll put a clip later on towards the end of this video. We'll see the top speed. What I did notice is the diff. It's fairly tight. Normally on a Traxxas, the diff is fairly loose, so when you're accelerating, you don't have any kind of packing of the diff. Here, basically, you could tell if I spin this wheel with one hand, eventually it will slip and break loose, but it's a fair amount of force for such a lightweight RC. So you do wind up having, the turns are not that great. It tends to do a lot of donuts. And in terms of controllability, that's probably the main issue. I guess maybe one day I'll get to the diff and we'll see if I could put any kind of different fluid maybe in there or see if I can unpack it a little bit. So in terms of accessories and what it was bundled with, you basically, like I said before, have everything you need. You have the wheel nut wrench, you have an optional rear wing, which is identical to the Mini E-Revo. You could put this on to make this look more of a truggy like thing. I haven't personally put it on yet, but this is what it would look like. Pretty good looking in my opinion. For that, they give you a couple extra screws right here in a little baggie. So you have some screws. You also have a screwdriver. All the hardware in this RC is Phillips hardware, and this will also help you put the battery into the remote. You have 4 extra body clips. That's very nice. I know I tend to lose them all the time. That's why I went the extra step to put in these little zip ties on my body clips. And you also have this charger. You have this proprietary charge plug. So basically you cannot use anything else unless you rewire it. But it is a peak charger. There is an LED here and it will glow when the battery is fully charged. I found that it was basically almost fully charged when I received the RC. So I only really had to charge it about 20 minutes. But the charge time should be about 2 hours normally. So what do you get for a newbie? You know, if you're going to be getting this RC, you either really want to bash it or just try out something in this hobby. You get this pretty in-depth owner's manual, which goes in detail. You know what it comes with. Let's see, all the included items. You have how to charge it. You have how to drive it. what I found to be the most interesting is the parts list. So anytime you really have any kind of issues, you need part numbers, this is where you're going to be looking. You also have detailed breakdowns of the way the RC is built. As you could tell, the shock itself is a single unit. It doesn't get broken down any further, although I did manage to disassemble the shock bottoms and the springs. Here we have a detailed view of the tub type chassis, the sealed transmission unit right here. So this is very useful, to be honest with you. I remember when I first got into the RC hobby, one of my first RCs was actually HPI Nitro RTR 3, and I broke a lot of parts on that, and basically just had to look up the parts list and the exploded views, and boom, there you go, it was done. So in that regard, that's actually fantastic. And as I said before, this is almost identical to the Traxxas Mini E Revo. This is one that I have actually. I'm doing something with the rear tire right now. That's why I'm missing one of the rear tires. I got to glue it. But the wheelbase is identical, exactly the same. The wheel is maybe a little bit smaller on the Mini E Revo, but as I touch them, they're almost the same type of compound. The width on the GP Toys is a little bit wider, a couple of millimeters. Obviously, they have a completely different chassis design. The Traxxas has inboard shocks. It has a brushless system. This particular one has been modified to also run a much higher 10th scale ESC right here, and 2.4 gigahertz Fly Sky radio. So this is what this one looks like. Basically, fantastic RC. The same type of wing system here. Alright, so we could tell on top of the box here, they claim that it will do 33 miles per hour. We're going to see a little bit at the end whether I feel like it's actually getting there. But this is the box it came in. It's fairly well packaged. I like the artwork on it. You have fairly well detailed information on the box on how to operate it, the runtime, how to take the batteries in and out. You know, how long to charge the batteries for. So that's very good. If you were a newbie at this hobby, you would definitely find that interesting. I guess you would call this the extremely quick start guide. You know, you don't even have to open anything, just here you go. So what do I think about this RC overall? For the price, it's definitely unbeatable. There's nothing else even close to this that you can buy with, I guess, such great looks. And even the features are not bad. You get a 2.4 gigahertz radio. You have a battery. You know, if you were just going to buy a regular, simple, one of the cheapest 2.4 gigahertz radio systems, that would cost you at least $30 with the receiver. So here, you know, for $45, free shipping, you're really making out, you know, a good little kit for yourself. Alright guys, so we're just going to be doing a short little run outside here with the GP Toys S912. Here we go. It's fully charged, ready to go. Yeah, so this one. Alright, here we go. Top speed. Pretty good control on basically all the way down to the end of the block. We're going to come back. Here we go, top speed again. As you could tell when I'm braking, it's doing a lot of sliding around, even when I'm going to be accelerating. Let's see the way it takes off. So it seems to have a lot of torque. It's spinning the wheels at the lowest RPM, but it tops out fairly quick as well. Brakes are very good. Reverse engages perfectly. Here we go, some donuts. Let's see the other side. So it does both side donuts fairly well. That means it's pretty well balanced. I just back it up a little bit, and then we'll see the way it squats under acceleration. So it has a little bit of torque steer. I gotta say that it does go a little bit sideways, more than basically any Traxxas product you can get.
I don't want to squish it.
Oh no, thanks, I appreciate it. Got a race here with this van. Let's see. Almost up to the van. But I'm pretty sure the van was in second gear while I was at full throttle. Servo's pretty good. Not the fastest I've seen, but it has a pretty good amount of travel. I just see some of the way it handles some of these larger obstacles. Fairly hard to control. Seems to want to do this a lot.